This is part of my memoir, Maha Unshackled. If you're just joining, you might want to start from the beginning. The first 18 chapters are now live. The clock was ticking. My student visa was about to expire. The side job with Jorge, Lee, and Anita didn't cover UCLA extension tuition. After my second OPT ran out, I had 90 days to figure out my future. No work permit meant no job, no income, and bills piling up. I felt like there was a gun to my head. I had to find a way to stay in the US. My only option was to either get married and get a green card or find an employer willing to sponsor me for an H-1B visa. Marriage was off the table given my history with arranged marriages and a violent husband. Marriage wasn't just off the table, it was off the planet, which left the H-1B route, meaning I had to somehow convince an employer not only to hire me, but also to pay lawyers, file paperwork, and jump through endless hoops to sponsor me. But why bother when they could just hire a US citizen? So every interview felt like walking on eggshells. I'd ace the questions, feel them leaning towards a yes. Then the voice in my head would start. They'll never go through all that for you. I became a near expert in the H-1B process, pulling all-nighters, reading the fine print. I knew every loophole, every requirement, every nuance. Employers could hire non-immigrant workers if no one domestically had the skills that match. The intent was to bring in specialized knowledge, global perspective, language abilities. I sent out countless applications, sat through hundreds of interviews, and eventually lost track. In the end, I had to find something under the table, as they say. The moment I walked through the front door, a shoe flew past my face. Good morning to you too, I thought, dodging another one. The 7-year-old terror I was babysitting just laughed, throwing things at me was his favorite game. If he wasn't throwing shoes, he was pulling my hair, smacking my arm, or screaming in my face. And his mom, she would just sigh and say, "He has a lot of energy." A lot of energy? He was a tiny tornado in sneakers. But I needed the job, so I smiled and went along with it. Every morning, I made him breakfast, helped him get dressed, sat with him through homework, then drove him all over LA traffic to keep him entertained. Parks, swimming, playgrounds, playgroups, anything to fill the day. No matter what I did, he was never happy. His socks felt weird, his cereal was too crunchy, and worst of all, I didn't know how to play his video games. "Ugh, you're so bad at this," he groaned one day, rolling his eyes. That night, I went home and studied. I watched videos, read tips, and practiced just so I could improve my video games playing skills the next day. But I didn't stop there. I spent hours researching play centers, activities, and kids club, putting together a full weekly schedule to keep him busy. And what did I get in return? More whining, more crying, and then I got fired. His mom one evening, "We just don't think it's a good fit," she said. I sat there, stunned. Somehow, I still wasn't enough. Then I landed a job with a fashion designer, which I thought was an upgrade from nannying. Wrong. Instead of a chic studio, I was sent to an auto shop in downtown Los Angeles, where the designer rented a corner as a warehouse. It was hot, smelled like oil and metal, and the soundtrack was drills and engines. "Here's your spot," she said, pointing at the dusty shelves. "Just keep track of everything and organize. It's called inventory." So for 12 hours a day, I stood in that awful space counting inventory, with mechanics shouting over each other and staring at my ass. No chairs, no break room. Lunch was me sweating in my car. By the end of each shift, my legs hurt and my back ached. At night, I blew my tiny paycheck on drinks in Santa Monica, still happy in the middle of it all to have friends and freedom after such misery. "You don't seem happy here," my fashion designer boss said flatly. I forced a smile. "I'm fine." She shook her head. "No, you're miserable and you're making me miserable. This isn't working out. And honestly, my accountant said I can't keep paying you under the table." And that was it. I was fired. I hadn't had the courage to quit, so I let her do it for me. The fear of returning to Yemen kept creeping deep into my bones. Then one day, something just clicked. I remember it so clearly. I was about to start job hunting again, scrolling through opportunities online, when I suddenly stopped. "Fuck this shit," I thought. "I came here to be free. I don't want a job. I want a green card." I didn't want to be at the mercy of an employer to sponsor my visa. What if I hated the job, felt miserable again, and wanted to quit? My entire destiny would be in their hands. I wanted freedom, and the only path to freedom was becoming a U.S. citizen, able to work wherever I choose, not wherever someone agreed to sponsor me. That day, I made the decision. I had no idea how I would pull it off. My circumstances hadn't changed. My finances definitely hadn't changed. Only my mind had. I closed my laptop and went for an aimless walk in Santa Monica, dragging my hopelessness with me on 2nd Street. I looked up and saw a huge sign. Immigration law. I knew I could not afford a lawyer, but I walked in anyway. At the front desk, I poured out my story in one breath. "I need help. I can't go back to Yemen. If I do, I will die. I have no money for a lawyer. My student visa expires in a few days. I have no job, no income. I can barely eat. Please, is there anybody who could help me?" The receptionist stayed calm. "Let me get someone. I only work the front desk." I waited there, hoping she wasn't going to secretly call security to kick me out. A few minutes later, a woman walked toward me. She had tan skin, long, dark, shiny hair, wearing a sleek brown pencil skirt and knee-high black leather boots with high, pointy heels. She leaned in with a gentle smile. "Hi, I'm Allison. Sarah told me a little about your situation. You need to meet Judge Ironhorn. He is the best person to help you. I will arrange it." A week later, I sat across from the judge himself. He leaned on a cane, his tone warm and steady. Something about him reminded me of Robin Williams in Good Will Hunting. "Maha," he said, "I have dedicated my life to helping people like you. In the 70s, I created the law of asylum. Before that, it did not exist." It was only later that I realized how fortunate I was. Judge Ironhorn had drafted the United States Refugee Act of 1980 and spent his career protecting refugees and prosecuting war criminals. And now, somehow, he was sitting across from me. It was the beginning of a beautiful friendship. Judge Ironhorn went above and beyond, fighting for my freedom. He built a team of lawyers around my case, which was unlike most others. Since I was not claiming asylum for religion, race, or sexual orientation, the protected classes under U.S. law, my crime was simply being a woman from Yemen. And women are not a protected class in the United States asylum and refugee law. Then disaster struck. The judge was rushed to the hospital for emergency heart surgery, and all the efforts on my case stopped. For 3 months, I received scatter updates from the immigration law firm. He was critical. More surgeries, no improvement. Finally, the office told me flat out, no one else here can take your case. Without the judge, you have 0 chance of winning asylum. Come take your files or we can mail them to you. I refused to give up. I called every immigration lawyer in Los Angeles. One by one, they all turned me down. There are no legal grounds for your case, they said. You are lucky you have found the judge. One lawyer put it out bluntly. Look, I could take your money and file this, but you will not win. The truth is, if anyone can argue this case, it's Judge Ironhorn. He literally wrote the asylum law. Most immigration officers studied his work. If there is even the slightest chance for you, it's with him. After a few months with no hope, no job, and no income, I could no longer afford my rent again and had to leave my apartment again. Cece kindly took me in, and I ended up sleeping on her daughter's bunk bed for 2 months. Then, this very email pops in my inbox from Judge Bruce J. Ironhorn. Hi, Maha. I'm slowly and steadily gathering my strength back in the wake of my open heart surgery. I have not forgotten about your case and think of you often. Given your unexpected troubles, the Pepperdine Law School Asylum Clinic that I direct would consider representing you at no charge. Would you be interested? My junior attorney instructors, honor students, and I personally will go over your case, finalize it, and help you file and argue it. It will be our privilege to represent you as zealously and well as possible. We'll fight for you together. Now go to bed. Judge Ironhorn. And just like that, I went from begging one lawyer to take my case to having a classroom full of bright soldiers fighting for me. Within 1 month, they drafted my affidavit, prepped me for the hearing, and even advised me on what to wear. The junior attorney leading the charge was Emily Allen, sharp, confident, steady, exactly the kind of person you wanted on your side. On the morning of my hearing, she and an honor student met me at the asylum office in Anaheim, California. We sat outside the hearing room for hours, my stomach in knots. Emily leaned towards me. Maha, don't be nervous. Yours is a strong case. I've seen much weaker ones get approved, and Judge Ironhorn's name is on it. Everybody here knows and respects him. I swallowed hard. But what if? No what ifs, she cut in, smiling. If you don't get approved, I'll quit my job. That's how confident I am in your case. And she was right. The interview went smoothly. The officer himself clearly from an immigrant background, was kind and straightforward. He had clearly read my case thoroughly and understood my story. When we walked out, I looked at Emily. "Wait, that's it?" She laughed. "Yeah, that's it. There's no gavel knock. There's no judge announcing a verdict." "So what happens now?" "You wait 90 days and get a letter in the mail," she said, smiling. 90 days came and went, then 6 months, then 9. Still nothing. Finally, I cracked and called Emily. The words tumbled out in one breath. "Emily, I don't have any money. I can't get a job without a permit. I took risks, worked under the table just to eat, got kicked out of my apartment, and I slept on my friend's daughter's bunk bed for months until I overstayed my welcome." On the other end of the line came Emily's calm, grounded voice. "Oh boy, let me see what I can do." A week later, I dragged myself home after a brutal workday at another meaningless job. I was making enough money under the table to pay for a small apartment in the same building Cece was living. A slip of paper was taped on my door. "Sorry we missed you. This is the second delivery attempt." My heart dropped. A package requiring a signature, held for 15 days, then returned to sender. Could this be it? The letter I had been waiting for? It was Friday evening, so I went to Cece's house for a nightcap. I showed her the notice. It was strange. It didn't say who it was from. I also don't remember getting the first notice. It says that this was their second attempt. I worked regular business hours. There was no one at home to accept and sign the package on my behalf during the day. We kept staring at this mysterious notice. Do you think? Could it be? I'll have to go first thing tomorrow morning to the post office. Are they open on Saturdays? Oh man, would I have to wait until Monday? We Googled the nearest post office and checked their office hours. Yes, they opened at 9:30 a.m. on Saturdays. I set my alarm clock right away to wake up at 9 a.m. As I investigated the notice for what seemed like the 100th time, I noticed a zip code printed on it. I grabbed Cece's arm so hard. "Look, there's a zip code. Let's look up this zip code." We Googled it, and the zip code belonged to Anaheim, California. I gasped. The asylum office where I was interviewed was in Anaheim. This must be it. I emailed Emily, even though it was 11:30 p.m. "Emily, I got this mysterious notice from the post office that they're trying to deliver a package. It says it's their second attempt. Did you get anything in the mail? You think this is it?" Surprisingly, Emily actually responded a few minutes later. "No, I didn't get anything. Let me know first thing in the morning when you find out. Good luck." I eagerly half slept, like a kid on Christmas Eve, waiting to spot Santa crawling out of the chimney. I didn't even need to wait for the alarm to go off, as I woke up before it even rang. By 9:15 a.m., I was standing outside the post office, waiting for them to open their doors. As soon as those doors unlocked, I was the first person to walk in. I grabbed the letter and ran back to open it in my car. My hands were shaking, my heart was beating, and tears were already falling down my cheeks. I tore the envelope open, and the first words I saw were, "Congratulations, you have been approved for asylum status in the United States of America." After retiring, Judge Ironhorn founded CAPE, a nonprofit supporting asylum seekers. He invited me to join the board, And together we organized fundraisers with celebrity support. I was honored to be a keynote speaker at CAPE's inaugural event at the Hindenburg Space for Photography, and again when the judge was recognized for his work with women refugees at the I Am Superwoman event in Bel Air. The yogis, Taoist, Buddhist, teach that the path to enlightenment is not about gaining, but about letting go, shedding layers, dropping baggage, tearing down walls around the heart until only love and freedom remain. In my own journey, letting go of old beliefs revealed a deeper truth. The people who shaped my life most profoundly in the United States, including the judge who granted me citizenship, were of Jewish descent. Even to this day, people from Israel come to my yoga classes with tears in their eyes, thanking me for giving them a sense of peace after coming from a war zone, traumatized. I even created a specific meditation on the Unplug app for people in war zones, dedicated to both Palestinians and Israelis. Because I went through war myself and understand the terror of hiding from bombs and missiles, surrounded by death. I've received messages from all over the world expressing deep gratitude for this meditation, saying it was their only refuge amidst the chaos of war. There are no mistakes in this intelligent universe. I now see it was all divinely orchestrated to show me that at the deepest level we are all one. Love will always win. It is what all humans gravitate towards. This was an excerpt from my upcoming memoir. Stay tuned for more. P.S. My memoir is complete and has been sitting on my laptop for months now. So if you know a publisher or can slip it to Oprah or Reese Witherspoon's book club, I'll owe you for yoga classes for life. Please subscribe for free to receive the next chapter.